POC Network here with another unboxing, this time coming from the company Movo, and this is the Movo WebMic HD Pro. And what the HD Pro is an all-in-one webcam solution. If you have a streaming setup at home or at the office and you do a lot of streaming, let's say it's just maybe daily or weekly tips and tricks or you're streaming your favorite video games to your wonderful fans, you typically have multiple different things within your kit. You usually have a webcam. It's usually going to be on top of your monitor in front of you somewhere. You're going to have a ring light at least, some kind of a ring light to light up your face so you can have proper lighting so you don't look funny or shadowed out or anything like that. And then you have your typical microphone that's usually hanging in front of your face somewhere off of some kind of a boom arm or some kind of a mic stand, and that's typically going to be a condenser microphone. You have all of these different devices that are usually in your setup, and all of that can be scrapped and replaced with just one, the WebMic HD Pro all-in-one webcam slash microphone slash light. So it has a built-in 1080p webcam that offers up to 30 frames per second. So that competes with pretty much every modern day webcam that's out there in the market that's popular and isn't 4K. But they do have a 4K model. I don't think it's out just yet. That might be coming in the future, but it would be available on their website as well. But that'll be another episode once we get our hands on one of those. But this one is 1080p at 30 frames per second. And then as you can see, going around the device here, you see this little white ring here. That is the ring light. It has 3 different mode settings on the back that you can control for brightness, and that just lights your face. It front lights you, so that way you look good on camera. And you can adjust that depending on your given environment, how bright the environment is that you're sitting in. And then you have the black space in between there, which is a very, I'm assuming, impressive, hopefully impressive, cardioid condenser microphone. And that's going to offer much better quality, richer quality than what you would get with a normal webcam that typically has just a little tiny built-in microphone, or sometimes a little bit better. Like the Logitech C922s have a little bit of a better mic built into them. It actually sounds pretty good for the size of that microphone, but this, you take that up one step further by going with a cardioid condenser microphone, and you're going to get much richer audio recording from it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of the box, we're going to take a look at what it comes with, what it looks like, and then we're going to test it out a little bit later in the day once we have once I can position myself in a more intimate scenario inside of an office, and we can we'll probably bounce it back between this and another webcam. We'll probably throw in the Logitech in there and put it up against, since that is pretty much like the most common camera that's been bought over the last so many years now, for those looking to dump money into a webcam. Now this is going to look a little bit different from something like that because that's just a little small compact webcam, but you got to consider all the devices that this thing is incorporating. But everything's packed in very nicely with foam here. You have a bracket here. Now this comes with 2 different types of or styles of mounting or just supporting the camera. And this is a bracket that attaches to your monitor or your laptop. Well, monitor, this is a little bit kind of hefty for a laptop, but this attaches to the top of the monitor so you can get that top-down shot coming from above your monitor with the unit. And then if that isn't what you want, it does come with an actual stand, which you can see in the picture here. And there's other ways of doing this as well because, you can put the whole thing on a boom arm, and they do have an optional accessory that they sell that is a boom arm for this, or you can pretty much use any boom arm if you already have one. We got some documentation here. We have a manual for all-in-one webcam or all-in-one HD webcam manual, WebMic HD Pro. It's about, say, 6 pages or so, and it's pretty simple. Just walks you through mounting it either this way or using the stand, what all the various different connections and buttons do, as well as how you get it running within your operating system. Now, just like any modern day camera, there is no software drivers or anything that you're going to need for this. It's plug and play. You just plug it into your computer and you select it from your operating system, let it be Windows or whatever else you're using, or the application that you're recording from. Like let's say you're using OBS or something. You would make sure that you choose this as both your webcam and your microphone while you're recording to make sure that everything's coming from this unit. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. And then you have your typical, are you happy? Are you not happy? Reach out to us, or well, them, not us, and let them know. And then you have a little Movo sticker here. And then you have the camera. Everything's very neatly packed away here with lots of foam to make sure that nothing gets scratched. You have your base here, and you have some accessories. which we have conveniently already taken out of their plastic. But this is the all-in-one unit. Now, it's actually very light. Condenser microphones can sometimes be a little bit hefty in weight, not all the time, but in this case, it's definitely not heavy. It's very light. The base is where all the weight's coming from, because you don't want it to wobble around or anything. You want to be able to sustain the weight of this thing on top. But this thing is incredibly light, and I don't want to say small. It's not small. It's definitely a little bit bulkier than your typical webcam. That's to be expected. I mean, consider the fact that how big your average condenser microphone is. A large condenser microphone, not a small condenser microphone. And then having all of this built into one. So you have the webcam, you have your light, and you have pretty much the majority of the design of this is pretty much the microphone. So it's not the smallest webcam in the world, no. But it makes sense given everything that you have going here, and it's still going to give you a much smaller footprint compared to having all the multiple devices around your desk. So what we'll do is we'll just put this together real quick. It comes with a little thumb screw here, which attaches it to the base here. You don't need this for the bracket that's for the monitor, because that one has it built in, and it's very similar to a mount that you'd find for a tripod. You have a little webcam cover here, or just a camera or lens cover. It's simple. It's just a push on, and you have a little string here so you can attach it between the base and the camera, which I did not do. But it's easy to remove, and then pushing it on, you just kind of feel it out and push it on and apply a little pressure. No big deal. I want to say it's too bad that they didn't do a built-in cover, but at the same time, I mean, based on the design approach for something like this, you don't really have a lot of options of building in a lens cover. I mean, how do you do it? You have a ball style condenser microphone here, so you have a round design. I mean, you can't build one inside, because, there's the guts of the microphone and everything else there. You can't have a flip up one because it might block some of the microphone, or it might block some of the light, which might cast a shadow on your face. So it makes perfect sense that they would have a typical just rubber lens cover that you just slap on there, and it is what it is. There's also other ways of disabling the camera, which we'll get to in a very quick second, but that leads us to the actual controls that are built in. You have two knobs here for volume or gain control. The one on the left side, facing the camera at least, the left side here, this is for controlling the gain of the microphone itself. So you can take it up, take it down. On the right side of the camera here, you have one for your headphones, and this is for monitor out. Now on the back side, you have a 3.5 millimeter input here, or output really, for your headphones. So you can monitor the audio live and hear and listen to what the microphone hears. And then if you push in that same knob, that mutes the microphone. So if you don't want the microphone, you just want to mute your voice, you just press that, and the mic's no longer being used. So if you're using different microphones for different situations, you can make use of a different microphone now, or maybe you're just using this for camera and not audio for whatever reason, and in which case you just mute that out. Or if you just want to take a break, you're in a Zoom meeting somewhere with your colleagues, you can just press that if you just don't want anybody to hear you for the moment. And then additionally on the back side here, you have two buttons here. The left button here, this is just for the light. This is where you can control it and determine your brightness of 3 different settings to determine, do you want it to be bright or do you want it to be dim? So that way you're not overexposing yourself, but you're not underexposing yourself either. You're not going to look shadowy or anything. You want to make sure you're nice and balanced. You got 3 modes there to switch from for your brightness for the ring light. And then you have a button here that has an icon underneath it of a picture of a camera. What this does is it disables the camera. So if you don't want your camera to be used or anybody to see, you can just press that and it disables the camera, turns it off. And so that's kind of like an alternative to this. And what's nice about that is you don't have to really worry about there's no software or drivers involved in this. So there should be, I don't think there's a software-based option to manually to disable the camera and turn it back on, or at least to take the place of this button. There's no override. I mean, you might have an option in your software like OBS to black the screen out or anything, but that's software-based and separate from the hardware controls here. But just in case, to be extra safe, you do have a lens cap, which is good. So especially if you're a teenager or a kid, you definitely want to maximize your privacy options to keep yourself safe with. So you have the ability to mute the microphone, cover the camera, or hard disable the camera using the button behind. And then you have your pretty much only accessory outside of the stands and the mount. You have a USB-C cable. So you have a modern cable, plugs right there, plugs in your computer, and you're ready to go. Again, plug and play. Everything works. You just have to tell Windows or whatever other operating system you're using or the software that you're using that you want this to be both your microphone and your camera. Now, before we go to actually demonstrating it to see what it looks like and sounds like, let's talk about that price. The price tag, the MSRP of this is $199.95. Not bad. I mean, it sounds a little expensive at first because you're like, oh, it's a little pricey, you know, for a 1080p camera or webcam, but it's not really the case. If you consider what you're getting a 1080p camera, and we haven't seen the quality of the camera yet, so we're still up in the air about that one until, you know, we actually take a look in a moment. But 1080p camera built into it. Now, your average 1080p webcam is going to be, you know, let's say, we'll just compare it again to the Logitech C922, which is kind of like the average default a lot of people have been using for years now. That ranges for anywhere between like $79 and $99. And, you know, so take that out of the price of $199, just the $79 to $99 alone. So sub $100 for the webcam built in. Now the ring light, typical ring light is going to cost you $20, $30 if you're sticking to just the consumer levels. It gets more expensive after that, or from there, if you're going to go with a prosumer or professional model. And this one, I would assume this is going to relate to your, or kind of compare mostly to your consumer models. So we'll just say $20. So $20 brings you back to $100. You know, given the range that we gave for the microphone a moment ago, and or excuse me, the webcam. But then you have the microphone. The microphone, now a condenser microphone is typically, you know, especially a Movo, we'll say, a condenser microphone is typically going to cost anywhere between $79, $99 and up. So we don't quite know yet what this is going to compare to, but it's definitely going to compare to one of those, likely. So worst case scenario, it's probably going to compare to their $79, $99 model, and well, that pretty much brings you up to speed in terms of the price of the product itself. Plus you get a stand, plus you get a monitor mount here, and you have some, you know, controls here, hard base controls to override the camera with. So it gives you a little bit more extra protection, lens cap. So $199 does kind of feel right for what you're getting here. And on top of it all, it is on sale right now. Maybe it's because Black Friday is coming up next week. Who knows? But there is a sale going on right now. I can't mention the price right now because that can change at any moment. But it is on sale, so check out the links below in the description and see what kind of money you can save if you wanted to jump on one of these. It's not too bad. And it's, you know, never hurts to save a little cash. So check out the links in the description. But for now, what we're going to do a little bit later today, we're going to bring this and hook it up in a more intimate situation in a small office and compare it to probably the Logitech C922 camera and to give a nice balance of what the video looks like. And we'll get an idea of what the audio looks like compared to that, and maybe we'll throw in a boom arm with a condenser microphone in the mix. So let's go take a look at what this looks like. So this is the WebMic HD Pro 1080p webcam. What you're seeing here is the video coming from the camera. This is the audio coming from the condenser, the cardioid condenser microphone that's built in, and we have the light setting on number 1 for the minimum brightness, and I have just natural, the office lighting above my head, which is, it can get pretty bright in here, but all of our offices do have dim controls, which is really nice. So I have it about in 30% brightness at the moment. So WebMic HD Pro, both camera and audio, and the light. And then what we'll do is we'll discuss the autofocus. There is no real autofocus, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of like a set focus. There is no autofocus. The software we're using, we do have, because it doesn't have any, it's plug and play, it doesn't have any software of its own, so we're using our own software. Our software does have control over the video on certain aspects, but adjusting focus on that also did absolutely nothing, so it is definitely a set focus. Exposure, though, is definitely auto. As you can see, it gets dark, and then I pull my hand away, it automatically corrects for the lighting in the room. So you do have the exposure, or the auto exposure settings, and through your software you can also adjust different controls or just variables of the camera quality, as well as like picture brightness and things like that, assuming on what software you're using, of course, because not all software gives that capability of being able to adjust these settings. So now let's take a look at what a alternative option looks like. What we'll do is we'll take a look at the Logitech C922 webcam. Now, this is the Logitech C922 webcam, and this is both the audio from the camera as well as the video coming from a different camera that's up here. And this is what the image and the audio looks like. The 922 does have autofocus, although it's on. I was going to say, usually we have this disabled anytime we're using one of these cameras, but then again, I just randomly grabbed this and threw it into the rig setup that we have here. So let's go back to the WebMic camera. And now what you're listening to and seeing again, once again, is coming from the WebMic camera. So you can see the Logitech does have better colors. It does have a crisper resolution to it. They're both 1080p, 30 frames per second. It just looks like the sensor in the Logitech's a little bit better. So there is that. But still, this image looks pretty good for a 1080p camera. And it is definitely something that you're going to want to use for Zoom meetings and other things, as well as a kind of entry level. We'll say I hate using that term, but we'll use it on this one as kind of an entry level all-in-one solution that's all incorporated into one device for anyone who's streaming their favorite games to their fans and whatnot. Now, if you're looking for a little bit better resolution, you're going to probably go with the Brio, which is going to give you a 4K resolution, and or the 4K version of the WebMic Pro series once it does come out. I can't really say for sure since we don't have access to one at this time, so I can't really tell you what it looks like or what it sounds like, and can't tell you how it compares to something like the Brio. But that's always kind of a thing that we do here. Anytime a 4K solution comes out, the Brio is kind of like the default, kind of like the C922, which is why I paired it with with this camera this round. C922 is kind of like a default for everything for 1080p, and then we use the Brio as a default for comparing 4K. So let's take a look at audio comparisons now. Now you've heard the audio coming from the Logitech webcam, and you're now listening to the audio coming from the WebMic Pro, the HD Pro. So how, that's just audio in comparison to other webcams, but now focusing on the fact that this camera has a built-in condenser microphone. Now let's take a look at what this would compare to if you were using a different condenser microphone. So to be fair, I put away any of the other ones. I chose a Sterling Audio, which is a pretty decent mic, but it isn't comparable to some of the Shure AKG's Rode, some of the other options that we have laying around that we typically use. So Sterling Audio, this is the St55 microphone that you're about to listen to, and this would be a great price range in comparison to, I think, with this microphone, and give you an idea of what this sounds like for a condenser microphone versus what this condenser microphone sounds like. Now, I know this one is definitely a richer microphone in terms of the lows, so it really brings out the low end of somebody's voice, and you might hear a difference between these two microphones when I switch over. So let's go ahead and do that. So now what you're listening to is the microphone here, but the camera, which is the WebMic Pro HD. But this is the Sterling Audio ST55 microphone. So now this is what it sounds like if you had everything split apart, and you have a camera here, you have this, let's say you had a ring light or multi-light setup. This is what it would be like if you had multiple devices. So in some cases, you might be getting some kind of a sacrifice by combining everything into one. You're gaining the footprint benefit, though. It's a small footprint. It's a tiny little camera compared to, it's kind of a big webcam in general, but it's tiny in comparison to all of this stuff hooked together. Like I have a ring light in here, as well as we have lights on the roof that are installed pointing down over here for various different situations. Now this isn't going to compare to those. Obviously it's just a little tiny ring light, but it's pretty powerful. Now, let's go ahead and change. We're going to take it up. This is the middle setting. So three settings for the brightness. We were on 1, this is 2, and now we're going to take it to 3. Now, so this is the third setting, which is incredibly bright. As you can see, I'm incredibly overexposed. You wouldn't want this. So we're going to bring it back down. This is off. And this is just the level 1. I think level 1 in this given situation is pretty good for what the webcam is putting out. And it's also the same thing. We'll switch over back to the Logitech with its microphone. This is, again, we're using the same light. This is what you're seeing on my face right now. Should look at this camera. The light is coming from the WebMic Pro, or HD Pro. So light there, camera and audio coming from here. We'll switch back to the WebMic Pro. And now the WebMic Pro here, you're hearing the audio, video, and the light coming from, you're not hearing that, but you're seeing the light coming from that. So again, this is the focus right now. What you're listening to is everything is coming from the WebMic Pro HD, or HD Pro 1080p webcam right now. So for the options, I mentioned earlier, you have the options of muting the camera, which is really cool. On the side here, where you have control over the headphone monitoring, which does sound pretty decent. I mean, sounds like what the microphone is picking up. If you press that in, it mutes the microphone. Now when you do that, it does light up the LED on the top of the webcam unit. There's two status LEDs. One is like right above the webcam or the lens, and one is at the top. The top one will light up red when you mute it, and when it's not muted, it's blue. The one on the camera here on the front is blue when it's running, and when you press the button on the back, it turns that red. Now, what's really interesting is when you disable the camera using the button on the back, it doesn't just go black. So if you are in a Zoom meeting or anything like that, it actually just freeze frames from where you're at. So I'll show you that now. I'm going to press the button. And as you can given the image is a little bit blurry there since I moved the camera as I did it, so we'll undo that. And we'll see if we can do this without moving the camera. And now as you can see, my image is frozen. I'm not moving, and kind of just gives you a nice little kind of headshot, you know, so when you don't want to go live. And then when you want to go live, you hit that button again, and there you are, you're live once again. Also, something to notice on this camera is that it's kind of more wide angle. You're getting a lot more, so let's go back to the Logitech. Here with the Logitech, everything's kind of more condensed. You don't have much of a wide angle. You don't have a wide degree coverage of the lens. So going back to the WebMic Pro here, you can see that yes, we're getting all of this extra messiness behind me as well. You're getting the space heater over here. You can see the fact that I haven't really organized anything as of recently over here. We've just been throwing cables over here in the cubby holes here. If you have a lot of background you want to pick up, you're going to get that with this camera. If not, you're going to want to bring it a little bit closer. Now, right now, it's about 22, 23 maybe inches from my face. So that's important to mention as well, so you understand exactly how far away it is from my face for both the purposes of the microphone and the camera, in terms of what you're listening to right now and how much you're seeing behind me. So there you have it. This, again, WebMic HD Pro 1080p camera from Movo. We're going to have links in the description as well as review below, so check out the description below. See what we have to say about that later on once we've given a little bit more time to play with this and get an idea of what we think about it. And we'll have links to the camera as well, so you can find out where to buy it from Movo's website or probably Amazon. So we'll have links there so you'll be able to click on that and take you straight to the product in case this is something you might want. Again, the MSRP is $199. It is on sale at the very moment of the making of this video, so check it out. Check out the links if you're checking this video as it just came out. You might be able to save some money. Again, Black Friday is next week, so there's a lot of savings going on right now, and it's the best opportunity to jump into some of that tech you've been hoping to upgrade to. And if you liked what you've seen here, don't forget to subscribe below, hit that subscription button, and follow us, and use the comment section to discuss this. What do you think about this camera? Is this something that you think it would look really good in your setup? Do you like the camera, the resolution, everything you're looking at right now? What does that compare to maybe cameras you've used yourself? Definitely use the comment section, and feel free to interact. And as always, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. If you want to stay on top of all the latest and greatest, and or at least the gadgets we cover, remember to subscribe right here. Subscription button. Click it. You're going to want to. There's lots of videos, interviews, previews, all sorts of stuff. Button. Click it.